latest episodes have been bangers. Well, we're just trying to mix it up and try to do different things. But obviously, occasionally, people don't like things, which happened not too long ago as well. But that's a whole thing. Yeah, you noticed. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, and a lot of people don't like this because the way that we handle it, and the way that you should handle a lot of these things when they happen, like drama, is that just don't, sometimes it's just better to just not address anything and just let it just fade, mainly because when things get too heated, almost no matter what you would say in that moment, people are still going to be going to be unhappy, or at least, you know, the group of people that want an apology or whatever, anything like that. If you say anything, they're just going to be more unhappy, and it just adds more fire to the flame. So that's why generally we're just kind of like, all right, we'll just let it, you know, let it die down, let them move on, let them get over it, have their fun for the week. Most of them are brigaders. Well, okay, look, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So this is gonna get clipped as well. I know this now. So I want to be very mindful about how I approach this. If I'm gonna mention anything here, is that I think there are a couple of important things to mention. So I think, first of all, I think from our podcast perspective and from our perspective, if it is fair to say that if we don't engage in politics publicly, because it's just a mess. None of us live in, you know, the US. None of us are in any of these kind of intense political situations. I think it is also fair to say that, yeah, why would we bring someone political on? Which I think is a very fair and extremely, like, a very fair criticism of us to do, which I agree with. And then I think the most annoying thing from my perspective and this whole thing is that there were legitimately fans of Trash Taste who were unhappy. And it's frustrating because you can't see or like actually hear from people who watch Trash Taste or who aren't happy because it just turned into like a political dick swinging contest about which side, which is bad on our part, because like we've never had any politics or any kind of talks like that in the comments, so I think it was kind of bad of us to kind of almost invite that. Second of all, the thing that was also very frustrating is that it, you know, no matter what people were saying, there was a lot of brigading on a lot of sides, and I think that two things can be true at once. You know, there were Trash Taste fans who were unhappy, and there also was brigading happening, which is also very frustrating to deal with, because then it's like, okay, now we can't actually listen to any criticism on the episode because both sides are jumping in, right? And you know, I even told Hasan, I was like, hey man, can you not? Like, it's bad enough that one side is doing this. Please don't bring up the episode and be like, hey, send people. You know, I was like, you know, just be above this, you know. Don't do this, you know, because look, if people who have very extreme beliefs want to go crazy, I can't stop them. They can do whatever they want, but you hope that at least, you know, another side wouldn't do that as well. So I told him, I was like, hey, please don't do that. And he was like, yeah, man, okay, my bad. But I think as well, you know, I told Hasan as well, I was like, hey, look, the show is not political. We don't want to deal with politics. You know, we're most likely not going to have you on again. No, and that's not like anything like, hey man, you know, it's just like, look, we don't want to deal with politics. I think the Trash Taste viewers also don't want to deal with intense comments. It sucks to read. People just getting upset as shit about it. And I know some like fans of Hasan will be annoyed about that. But you know, I just told them, I was like, look, at the end of the day, we don't want to invite like a shit show to the comments. And I think it was ignorant on our part to think that if we just didn't talk about politics, that it would stay out of it. Because that was our thinking, you know, because we already had him on once and it was fine. Some people were angry about it, but yeah, I mean, it was ignorant on our part to think that if you didn't talk about politics, it wouldn't matter. But yeah, you know, a lot of things have changed in 2 years. I don't keep up with what's going on. You know, I get all of my news from the BBC. I don't go on Twitter. I uninstalled it. You know, I think all of us were kind of blindsided by it. So it was kind of, you know, a lot of people like they're out of touch. I'm like, I guess, like, I think that's safe to say if being in touch is living on Twitter and engaging with politics 24/7, because we just don't do that. We've never done that. I think that almost is unhealthy. I feel like the level of vitriol is almost like at a point that is so like toxic to everyone involved that I have no wish to engage with it. And so I you know, I just don't. You know, I keep up with generic news, but I don't engage with any political spheres online. Like, so it's kind of hard to keep up with. It's endless doom scroll. And I also think as well, and I think it's really important to mention as well, that I think some people forget as well, just because we speak English, and a lot of our viewers are American. None of us have ever lived in America. None of us are American. We don't keep up with what is going on. I already see too much politics from a country I don't live in that I don't want to know. I see more about that than my home, the UK, which is crazy, and Japan as well. I get fed more American stuff. I turn on the news, it's all American stuff. You know, and I think it's also important to mention that I think that, again, there were Trash Taste viewers who didn't like the episode and don't agree with it and who are disappointed. And I think that's valid, you know, I think that's fair to be. But obviously it doesn't, you know, just because we have someone on doesn't mean we agree with every single thing that they would say. Now, fun fact, because I'm sure people are wondering, I was keeping an eye because I was looking at what was going on. And I loved looking at the stats because, I don't know, even while all this stuff was going down, I did find it terribly interesting to look at the back end stats of what was happening. And it was kind of interesting, I'm not gonna lie. So the way YouTube works as well when you lose subscribers, by the way, is that it does it in increments of 10,000. And so sometimes some people, you know, they love to be like, oh, they lost this many, right? Not entirely true. I can actually tell you the exact amount of subs that we lost, because I think it's interesting. And I think that it also serves value to explain that it is not just people outside of Trash Taste. We did lose subs. I can tell you exactly how many right now. Let me find out. We lost 4,000 subscribers, which is not a lot, but I also think it is disingenuous. And I think it's bad to pretend like, you know, that people aren't unhappy. So like, you know, I'm like that's sad. I feel bad that 5,000, 4,000 people who watch Trash Taste feel like they can no longer watch it. That feels bad. And that's a miscalculation on our part. There was also a couple of stuff flying around that was interesting. So first of all, a lot of people were accusing me of deleting comments. We're not deleting comments, we never have. YouTube has auto moderation, so naturally if you put the word terrorist in a comment, a lot of the time YouTube is going to flag that, because why wouldn't they, you know? And there was some of the comments were kind of crazy. You know, some of the language was inflammatory and they're like, why is my comment being deleted? And they said like literally like the 5 key words that would get you banned. One other thing that I noticed is that when I looked at the comments and I'd scroll, and I don't know what's happening here and I don't know what exactly is happening, but I would literally see comments, you know, because I was watching the comment feed from the back end, right? So from like the admin side, that some comments would appear that were negative comments, which is fine, I don't care, that would have 10 likes within like 1 second, which I thought was like, because on YouTube, the most important part of a comment's lifespan is not if it gets to 5,000 likes, it's if it can get a lot, like a 10 to 20 likes in the first like 10 seconds, because that's what will bump it up. I don't know what's going on there and how that works, but that was the thing. One other also thing that I noticed that I will just mention very briefly, I'm not going to get too much into it, is that there was obviously a lot of bandwagoning on it because people were, you know, loving it and people don't like Hasan. And so people were jumping on it and making videos about it. There was a lot of stuff that people said that was just flat out not true, and people were just making stuff up. Some people were saying like, oh, they didn't have this guest on. They said they were too controversial, but they had another guest on. That's never happened. That's just a bunch of lies. So I don't know what that was about. There was also, the only things that were disappointing from me, my perspective as well, like really, I was like, man, what the f, is that people would then make whole narratives based around, because we had X on, that we then couldn't criticize any other creator. We couldn't, they're like, oh, you know, these people have changed, they're horrible, yada, yada, yada. And that was like, oh, okay, that sucks that people are just making assumptions, but not a big deal. But yeah, no, I mean, look, the reason why we didn't address it right away, we wanted to wait, was because a lot of people, you know, they were just demanding things. There were a lot of comments that were like, you need to delete this episode, where I feel pretty confident in saying this, where if you ask Trash Taste viewers, do you want them to delete the episode? I think most viewers are sensible. They would say, hey, even if I don't agree with this episode or I don't agree with this one, I wouldn't want you to delete an episode. I think that's crazy. Now, also, I want to make it very clear as well, in case you're watching this on YouTube, that because this is no doubt going to be a clip, that I'm sure that there's a good chance the comments, you know, might get taken over depending on how big this clip is. Please think for yourself. Please don't just read top comment and form your opinion based around that. Obviously, you're all adults. I trust you. And what I really appreciated is that a lot of Trash Taste fans did seem to be just tired of people picking a side and being emotionally charged about it. And we're kind of just like, hey, maybe it's not for me. All good. Next episode. Or hey, I don't engage with this. I'm done. So I appreciate a lot of the sensibility in this, because I think, look, we live at a time where everyone is so emotionally charged and there's just so much rhetoric and so much, you know, everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got a side. And so I appreciate that people sometimes can have a sensible approach to it. I think what you will always get from me is never a clear-cut answer. You will always get an argument that I try to be as sensible as possible, and I try to consider all sides, and I'm not like a centrist or anything like that, or whatever, or anything like that. The reason I don't talk about my political opinions online is not because I don't have any political opinions, it's just because I just think that the online space does not get anything out of me talking about it. There's nothing to engage. I don't think it provides any value. I just hate France, and I think that's a fair opinion. But, you know, at the end of the day, I feel that the internet would be a lot better off if some people just knew how to shut the fuck up. And that's kind of where I stand. And so I'm of the opinion that, look, I think I'm an informed guy, but I also recognize that the internet doesn't benefit from me sharing my opinion. And it's okay also to not have an opinion. I think it's also okay to not give a f, because I think it's kind of exhausting right now. And look, you don't always have to be on 24/7. I think you can tackle it at your own way. You can tackle it in a way that you want. But you know, I was inevitably going to talk about this at some point anyway, just because I wanted to talk about it as well. I didn't feel pressured to talk about it at all, but I thought there's a lot of interesting things to discuss, and I'm sure I'm going to look back at this clip and feel like I should have said 10 different things differently. But I think the underlying point is the same, of like, look, to the Trash Taste fans that are disappointed, sorry. You know, it is unfortunate. Are we going to delete the episode? No. If you did you unsubscribe? Okay, I apologize for that you felt the need to unsubscribe. But at the end of the day, you know, there was just we did not estimate what would happen. And then there's like a million drama channels that jump onto it, and it's like, okay, this is just, you know, it went from being the opinion of actual Trash Taste fans to very quickly becoming the opinion of like certain groups who would just kind of rally around it. So yeah, it was unfortunate. And people will all come into chat or they comment and stuff, and they're like, hey, when are you know, how dare you? Are you going to address this? Yeah. It's like, look, at the end of the day, if I address it, a lot of these groups of people are not going to be happy with anything or any kind of response, right? Because if you say I'll delete it, a lot of fans who didn't give a will be annoyed. If you say, all right, we won't delete it, then they'll get annoyed no matter what. And then maybe it's deleting is not enough for some people, you know? So if you start trying to chase apologies, you end up just pleasing no one and just looking like a coward, you know, which is why when, you know, Hasan saw it and he felt bad and he was like, hey, are you going to make a statement or anything? I was like, no, I'm not going to make a statement. Who gives a like, you're not going to please anyone by making a statement. People just want to be annoyed because they want to be annoyed right now. You didn't watch and moved on? Look, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think the internet would be so much better if we had a bit more respect, but hey, look, that's how it goes. And you will engage in the culture war. I'm doing everything in my power not to, because I don't give a because I feel like half the time it's not even about like politics or anything like that. It's just about being right or wrong or being on the side. It's just pure tribalism, man. And I just don't want to engage with it. It's just bad for your brain. It just doesn't help. I just feel worse whenever I read any of this shit. Or whenever there's like absolutely demonstrably false things being said, I'm like, dude, what the is going on? I can't engage with this anymore. Look, and that's why, again, I want to reiterate that we told Hasan, because we saw him reacting to it and being like, hey, get in there and stop, you know, he was trying to brigade against people who were brigading it, who they were. There was Trash Taste fans who didn't like it, and there was people brigading, and I told Hasan, I was like, don't do this. I think it's petty, makes you look bad, and I think it's pathetic, so don't do this. Don't tell people to get in there and brigade it. So I think it doesn't help anyone. So yeah, that's that. That's pretty much all there is to it. I think it's not going to be a lot. I apologize to people who are not going to be satisfied with me talking about it in this way. This is the best you're going to get. I've genuinely nothing else to add. I wish it was more eloquent and I wish I had a script, but I think also these are the kind of situations where I think it's just better to be honest and just talk about it candidly. It'll blow over. I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, it already has blown over. People wanted to make a stink. They made their stink and it's done. The reason why I didn't want to talk about it, and maybe this is a bad idea even talking about it now, but is that I'm pretty certain there is a chance that it could have a second wind with me talking about it, which I don't want, because I think it's unnecessary. We'll see, but I think that's where I stand, generally speaking. Obviously, I speak mainly for myself there. You know, I'm not putting words into Joey Gard's mouth. Yeah, all good. Have I seen Ludwig Bald? That is something that we should brigade, though, actually. That is something that we should be pissed off about. He's doing us all a disservice. He has great hair. You get a tour on Trash Taste and you can talk about how great France is. Never. No French people allowed on the pod. Wait, no, we already had Canato. Okay, fine. We'll have him on the pod. Anything else? Anything else? I want to make sure I've covered everything I wanted to say. I think that's basically where I stood, I think. I always hate talking about this stuff because I feel like I always get nervous for no reason. Just because I know that it's so charged and I don't want to say the wrong thing. But if I said the wrong thing anyway, it doesn't matter. I think the sentiment is there. Even if I don't say the exact right words in the right order. Can't make everyone happy. Look, and I know that we're not going to make everyone happy, but I'd like to think that my point hopefully resonates with some people, and some people nervous about being cancelled. I'm not nervous about being cancelled. I'm nervous about, I want to be eloquent for myself, and I want to be able to say things eloquently, because I just want to get better at that. And with these situations, you only usually get one shot to say it, and I'm saying it unscripted, and I'm trying to do a cohesive point. So I just want to be eloquent, not for any, I'm not scared about being cancelled or anything like that. I don't give a this whole, it's so stupid. So it's whatever. It's whatever. It's whatever. Even if you say all the right words, there'll still be people who hate on it. Yeah, and look, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of people who are happy about it, the way what I had to say, which is fine. But I do think, at least if my point is known, there should be less ambiguity about where I stand and, you know, and how we feel about the situation, which I think is important, so that you can make your mind up, you know? Look, everyone's got to pick a side, and I think the most important thing I could tell people is, like, don't rely too much on comments. People have figured out that having top comments or having a lot of comments that like your side is the side to be on, you know, is a very powerful thing. And people abuse that. So, you know, people go out of their way to try and get like the most liked retweet or the most liked comment or the most liked quote retweet, right? Because they want to make it look like this is the opinion. This is what everyone feels. And it's really important to make sure that you don't base your opinion off the opinion of others. just, you know, do what you want. So yeah, if you're hoping that I'll start my second life and get into politics, it's not going to happen. Probably never going to discuss politics on my channel. Not because I don't have opinions, or I try to, you know, I just don't think the world benefits from me talking about it. And I like making the stuff I like, and politics gets in the way of the stuff I actually like doing, and it makes people charged when there's no need. I think if we both with fear and hunger, we should just both fear and hunger, and you shouldn't be wondering the entire time if what my political compass is. I think you should just be able to watch something that you're interested in because we have a common hobby, and that's kind of where I stand on that, you know? Like, I just think that's how I feel. It's so frustrating having to, you know, you like something, or someone puts out something cool and you're like, oh, did you hear about his opinions though? You're like, oh God, what? So, yeah, basically. I came here because you hate French people, so your politics, man, just talk about it. I don't think that's politics, I think it is common sense, you know? And that's one of those, for sure. Sorry to the French. You know, and again, I just want to say, like, sorry to anyone who was let down by it. Misplay on our part, that we thought that if we didn't talk about politics, it'd be fine. But, you know, I guess for some people it's impossible to separate. Politics or not, they keep attacking anyone who's friends on the other side. Yeah, I mean, you can't stop people from doing that. But I think, you know, just because you're getting flack from some side, I think that, you know, there's no harm in still being able to eloquently explain yourself, perhaps to people who do want to listen, and people who are more sensible, who don't pick sides and already decide before they've read a headline or anything like that, you know.